I have some memories of Killzone 1. None of them are particularly good, but I do remember the game and everything leading up to it. You have to remember the context before Killzone 1 came out. Just a few years before, Microsoft entered the console market with the original Xbox, and with the original Xbox came this little game called Halo. Sony saw two things. One, Microsoft is a legitimate contender in the console market, and two, consoles were really starting to catch up when it comes to shooters. This generation was the first generation where shooters really took off on the console market despite PC gamers loving shooters for practically a decade before this. Shooters really were the next mainstream thing, and Microsoft hit it big with Halo, so of course Sony wanted a piece of that. Sony's response to this was sort of a make it or break marketing campaign. They started hyping up Killzone to be the quote-unquote Halo killer, and if you know how Killzone 1 ended up, that's kind of laughable and backfired, but in all reality, if Killzone just had not been that bad of a game, and if it was a good or great game, this would have been a brilliant marketing campaign. You would have had Sony fanboys saying that the PlayStation 2 is better than the Xbox because Killzone is better than Halo, and then Microsoft fanboys saying that Halo is better than Killzone, so the Xbox is better than the PlayStation 2, and both sides would have benefited with more sales. Unfortunately, as I said, Killzone didn't really do that well because it just wasn't that great of a game. In hindsight, it makes Sony look real dumb because they were classifying this as the Halo killer, and we all know what happened to Halo. It went on to break tons of records, it was the main game for a whole decade. Everyone loves Halo. It's Halo. But Killzone 1 did not have that reputation. To make matters worse, Killzone 1 came out in 2004, which was a very strong year. Just with shooters alone, you had games like Half-Life 2, Doom 3, Far Cry 1, Halo 2. All of these games are going to overshadow Killzone 1. When talking about Killzone 1's graphics, you have to remember that this is a PlayStation 2 game that came out in 2004 on hardware that was released in the year 2000. This is outdated hardware. The PlayStation 2 was not that powerful, yet Killzone 1 looked very good for its time. There's attention to detail everywhere, and this is really held up by the art direction of the game. Even if you didn't play Killzone, you will still recognize Killzone. A lot of the art is sort of inspired by Nazi things, but still, it really does stand out. As far as the PS2 goes, this was unrivaled at the time. It genuinely looked good, but that did come at a cost. This game had frame rate issues like crazy. It was almost unplayable at times. What you're seeing in this video, however, is an HD re-release on the PlayStation 3, and it does run a bit better. Keep in mind, it's the same game, nothing has been changed, it just runs at 720 and doesn't have compressed textures. With that said, the PlayStation 3 HD re-release still has frame rate issues from time to time. Nowhere near as bad as the original PS2 game, but definitely enough to point out, and enough to kind of hinder your experience every once in a while. Killzone's graphics have actually aged pretty well. You can look at them today and they don't look that bad. In fact, if you didn't know anything about Killzone, you would assume that it's a PlayStation 3 game, not a PS2 game. Unfortunately, they were just a bit too ambitious graphically, and the hardware couldn't handle it.
It's them!
Thanks. I'll stay here and secure the area. Yeah.
The plot of this game is interesting because I feel that the lore and the world surrounding the direct plot is more interesting than the direct plot. You never know what's really going on in the big picture. Who are the Helghast? Why are we fighting this war? What is going on? We are given no explanation in any way whatsoever. For a game with such good art design, you don't really know what's happening. And you figure they want you to know if they're going to shove that art in your face so much. It is captivating, it is intriguing, but again, we don't know what's going on. The game doesn't focus on the big army picture, it focuses on a few main characters. You can play as 4 characters. The first one you get is Templar. Templar has a mission from General Vaughton himself to find a spy that fell behind enemy lines. On his way there, he'll come across 3 other characters that again you can play. Luger, who is the stealth assassin, which will give you suppressed weapons and a knife. Rico, who is sort of Killzone's Rambo, you get a big chain gun that's not really a chain gun, but you get what it's supposed to be, and really you can just go loud, and this is almost easy mode. And the last is Haka, who's the Helghast equivalent of Templar, so you get the Helghast rifle. These 4 main characters do have inner turmoil between them, and it is interesting to watch from time to time. The one real complaint to have is that sometimes I just really wish Rico would shut the fuck up. Not because his arguing is not interesting, but just because he never stops, and it's every 5 seconds, no matter if you're actually playing in the game during a level or in a cutscene. It gets very irritating very quick.
Adams was never here.
It was a setup.
That's it.
Someone tell that imbecile that it's obvious that I was meant to hear the message. My only crime is that I believed it.
Well, I don't trust this gas. Fuck. We got that information about Adams from him. And now I say we ditch him. Don't want to kill him? Fine. But I say we dump him. Cover our backs.
As the plot goes along, you do end up finding the spy who relays information that General Adams has betrayed General Vaughton and killed General Vaughton. It's not a spoiler that General Adams is bad, because from the very beginning of the game, you can see that he's an evil character. He's comically bad, and this is really the only thing keeping me from saying that this story is written well. General Adams exists just to have a traitor in the plot, just to be this comical bad dude. There's nothing more to him, there's no character development, you don't even really know why he's doing it, aside from just, I guess, more power. And that's it. You don't know his motivations, you don't know his backstory, he's just there to be bad. The Earth fleet has been called in for reinforcements, and once you find out General Adams is a traitor, it's a race to get to the big guns to stop the big guns from shooting down the Earth fleet. However, the thing I noticed is that once you get to the big guns, the Earth fleet seems to just destroy them without much issue, so what's the point of the entire second half of the game? It could have just stopped the moment you got to the spy. And that is the end of the game. General Adams dies, you get revenge for him being a traitor, whoop-de-doo, revenge story, and the Earth fleet's okay. Like I said, the actual big picture surrounding the plot is a lot more interesting than the direct plot. If there was one thing that could have saved Killzone, it could have been the gameplay, but unfortunately this is not the case. It's not a completely awful game, but it's certainly not a good one. The mission structure is split up into different levels. It's not like Half-Life 2 or Doom 3 where it's one continuous thing. You just have different levels that all last generally around 7 to 15 minutes. These are pretty short, and that's fine. The entire game itself you can beat in around 5 to 7 hours, and that's okay, that's pretty average. It's actually good that these levels are short, because a few of the longer levels are infuriating because this game does not know what a checkpoint is. So if you die right at the end of the level, you have to redo the whole damn thing again. And this game can get pretty obnoxious. I will give a lot of credit for the art design. The weapons in this game are really interesting, and you do want to use them. The animations for a PS2 game are amazingly smooth and are just really cool. That's nothing more needs to be said. Look at these guns, these are awesome designs. Unfortunately, the gunplay itself doesn't feel very good. Most of these guns are pretty inaccurate. Zooming doesn't change the accuracy, it just zooms, that's really it. Enemies are bullet sponges that can take more damage than you can and can shoot you right back as you're shooting them, which is not fun to deal with. What's even less fun is when they kill you instantly with explosives, which happens a good amount towards the later part of the game. And all of this is compounded by the checkpoint issue. This game can be infuriating. It's not even that difficult of a game, it just feels cheap at times, and it's really not fun. At its best, it's a competent shooter giving some amusement with some really interesting guns. At its worst, it's a repetitive, infuriating slog with a bad checkpoint system. I wish I could really say more about the gameplay, but it doesn't do much of anything that stands out aside from just looking really cool. The gunplay is gunplay you've seen in plenty of other games, just with a different skin, and done worse. Thankfully, Killzone 2 and 3 ended up a lot better than the original game, and I'll be focusing on Killzone 2 in my next review. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and if you're subscribed, be sure to click that bell notification so you can actually know when I post, since YouTube doesn't like to tell people that I'm posting videos. Huge thanks to all my patrons you can see popping up on screen. If you want to go check out my Patreon is patreon.com/Jarek4. This really helps. I like being able to pay for groceries. As I said, my next videos are going to be on Killzone 2 and 3, and I'm going to be streaming those over to my Twitch, so if you want to check out my Twitch and give a follow over there, my Twitch is twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon. Thanks all you guys for watching, and I will see you next video.